escalated into violence. Vincent, just a KCSE candidate like the rest, was stabbed in the abdomen. Despite efforts to save him, he passed away shortly after being rushed to Nakuru Referral Hospital. The students involved had recently returned to school after disciplinary suspension, adding another layer of complexity to the tragedy.
Now we've arrested 8 students. Out of the 8, 5 of them are in Baruch police post, which is not very far from that school. They are doing their exams in that police station. The other 3 who we had arrested initially, the 3 of them are in Gilgil.
Initially detained alongside the main suspect, the 7 students are now key witnesses in the case. Their testimonies are expected to unravel the full story of what led to the deadly altercation. Meanwhile, the primary suspect, a 17-year-old Sudanese national, will face a manslaughter charge. The court had since ordered an age assessment before the formal charges are filed. Until then, he remains in custody at Gilgil Police Station, awaiting his court appearance on December 2nd. Education officials, led by Principal Secretary Belio Kipsang, are urging students to take bold steps towards fostering discipline and safety.
We also urge all of us, our teachers who are in our schools, to ensure that they improve on surveillance. They work very closely with the students and these kids so that they can be able to gather intelligent information, because these things don't just happen.
This school is a school that we've said we need the Ministry of Education to do an inspection once exams are complete, because we want to understand whether we could be having administrative issues in that school that are affecting the normal operation of a school.
Susan Nganga, Gbs News.
The Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers has threatened to recall its members from marking the 2024 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education following reports of mistreatment by the Kenya National Examinations Council. According to the union's officials, several teachers from schools involved in exam irregularities were unfairly ejected from the marking centers, subjected to humiliation and dismissed without proper cause. The union is demanding a thorough investigation and compensation for the affected teachers, warning of possible action, including a boycott of the marking process if the situation is not addressed. Here are the details. The Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers is raising concerns over the alleged mistreatment of its members involved in the marking of the 2024 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examinations. The union officials have condemned the actions of the Kenya National Examinations Council following reports that teachers from the institutions linked to exam irregularities have been unfairly ejected from marking centers. The union is now threatening to recall its members from the marking process if the situation is not addressed.
With regard to what we consider unmitigated mistreatment of our members who are involved in the marking of Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education Exams 2024. The Kenya National Examination Council has over the last few days, with flagrant disregard to common decency, decorum, and general good order, subjected KCSE examiners from selected schools to untold humiliation and unnecessary embarrassment.
Sam Opondo, the executive secretary of the union's branch, voiced the union's grievances in a statement earlier this week. According to Opondo, a number of teachers have been unjustly dismissed from their duties and removed from the marking centers, often without clear explanations.
Some have been retired without reason. Others are ejected out of marking centers, like common criminals.
Post-primary education teachers' leadership is calling for thorough investigations into circumstances surrounding these removals. The union insists that a fair and transparent inquiry must be conducted and that the teachers who have been wrongly dismissed should be compensated. Opondo emphasized that the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers will not tolerate the unjust treatment of its members and is prepared to take strong action, which will include advising teachers to boycott the marking process if the mistreatment continues.
Proper investigation must be done. Our teachers who have been wrongly dismissed from marking must be compensated. And if NEC wants to continue with this improper humiliation of our teachers, we are ready to take any action. One of them, which may include calling our teachers to boycott marking, if that is the language they understand.
The ball now lies in the Kenya National Examinations Council's court to resolve the matter fairly, ensuring that teachers are treated with respect and that any issues related to exam irregularities are handled through proper channels. Principal Secretary in the State Department for Basic Education, Dr. Belio Kipsang, has reiterated that the government has put the necessary measures to ensure smooth transition of grade 8 pupils to grade 9 next year. The Principal Secretary revealed that by January next year, an addition of 11,000 classrooms countrywide for the grade 9 candidates will have been completed. Another 5,000 classrooms will be constructed by the National Government Constituency Development Fund to achieve a total of 16,000 classrooms that were needed for the grade 9 pupils. He reported that the ministry had allocated an extra 1 billion Kenyan shillings for schools in Nairobi County because of their unique challenges. Kipsang spoke during the commissioning of 9 classrooms at Masikonde Primary School in Narok Central Sub-County, where he said the 2025 is a critical year for the new competency-based curriculum program, as it is the year when the first junior school cohorts will be tested to transit to senior school. At the same time, he lamented the increasing number of candidates who sit for their examinations while pregnant and called on adults to take care of children during this long school holiday.
Don't bump on me, please. Say, excuse me. I mean, why do you push people around when you could simply be excused? What is so hard about saying sorry when you're wrong? There's no perfection on earth. After all, we Konde are grateful for giving us 5-star classroom. Thank you for your generosity. That's it. Bye.
Most sincerely thank all of you for being here as we commissioned these grade 9 classrooms and also monitor the progress that we are making towards our readiness for transition to grade 9 in January. As at now, across the country, government is putting up 11,000 classrooms funded through the Ministry of Education. We are working with the National Government Constituency Development Fund, which is also, who are also doing another 7,000 classrooms. We have a special fund which has been allocated to Nairobi County because of their unique circumstances, which is another 1 billion shillings, so that we can all work together towards making sure that we are ready for our children going to grade 9 in January. I also want to confirm, and Mwalimu has just told me, that we have received books for grade 9. And as you are all aware, the CS sometimes back launch the distribution of the core textbooks that will be used by our children in the 9 learning areas. We are going to make sure that we avail a book for every learning area, for every learner. And also there will be teachers' guides, which will support the teachers in preparing for curriculum delivery to these children. The Kenya National Examination Council has also been working very closely with KICD, with with the Teacher Service Commission, and with the Ministry of Education to ensure that we build the capacity of our teachers so that they are ready for also delivering to our children, and build the capacity of our teachers to be the assessments that are school-based. The competence-based education.
Many thanks for joining this live broadcast. We have a lot lined up for you in our new segment tonight. But first, let us take a quick break. We'll be right back with even more.
Welcome to the 254 Trivia Game Show, where every second counts and the stakes are sky high.
Get ready for jaw-dropping challenges, mind-bending questions, and unbeatable fun.
Who will rise to the top and claim the ultimate prize?
Tune into Gbs TV and let the games begin.
Don't miss out. This is the 254 Trivia Game Show. Good luck.
Wanasema afadhali nililie kwa Range Rover na nicheke kwa baiskeli.
Ndio hiyo sasa.
So ukisikiza wengine anakuanga ni uongo. Wanataka kukuonyesha
ni pia pressure. Mimi siwezi fanya, siwezi amka akikuja late, siwezi amka nimpatie chakula, siwezi fanya.
Is a friend of mine aliniambia yeye bwana yake ni mtu wa kununa. Yeye ana jam sometimes, sijui anaweza maybe ameboeka huko kazini, akikuja kwa nyumba amejam tu.
Mtu hata labda akulangi kama mzee ajengia kwa hiyo nyumba. Labda akulangi ama akisikia tu mlango ndio imeguzwa pe ako chini.
Hapo kutuitiwa unapelekwa mahali, unaanza kuchapa mahesabu yako. Hii pesa ingelipa school fees. Tungenunua vitu zingine tuongezee kwa nyumba.
Then naturally hawajaumbwa watu wa kupayuka, si kama sisi. Na thema unakaa na mtu, unakaanga ukijua this person akiwa real ama akiwa na pressure fulani.
Bwanake mahali ameajiriwa kazi, boss wake ni sugar mami wake.
Alafu
Everywhere, GBS. Welcome back. You're still watching GBS News 9. Intern doctors practicing in the country have been directed to halt work immediately due to ongoing salary issues. The Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union stated that interns are unable to continue with their duties as the government has failed to pay them their dues, leaving many healthcare workers frustrated and unable to fulfill their responsibilities. Here is more on the same. In a tragic development, the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union has ordered all intern doctors affiliated with the union to immediately cease work following the suicide of a medic based in Thika. The tragic incident has brought to light the deteriorating working conditions faced by healthcare interns, particularly in their prolonged unpaid dues.
And that means next week we'll issue the notice openly at Safari Park, when these other doctors across the country will join.
The Union Secretary General, Dr. Gbs Tv At, confirmed that the deceased Dr. Francis Njoke had taken his own life due to the mounting frustration from his unpaid salary. Dr. Tv At expressed deep sorrow over the loss and emphasized the worsening working environment for intern doctors, many of whom have not been paid for over 4 months. Further, Dr. Tv At added that the union would call for a grand strike before the end of the year after the government failed to honor and implement the return to work formula it signed with them at the end of the 56-day strike earlier this year.
We are going to give now notice for the nationwide strike of all the doctors. We have the SDC or Special Delegate Conference, which then will determine whether we're going for 7 days or 14 days, or at most 21 days. But I believe because of the urgency of the matter, and the frustrations that there is there with the doctors across the entire country, we may not go beyond 14 days.
Dr. Atela's sentiments were echoed by his deputy, Dr. Dennis, who warned that if 5 other intern doctors had not been rescued from suicide, the death toll would have been even higher.
Cannot afford to be unable to pay the interns. Why do I say so? Because healthcare workers cost around 80 billion shillings in this country. Interns account for 30% of that work. So if you have to pay interns like everybody else, they're earning around 26 billion cumulatively. Yet what we are asking for is 3.8 billion only. So do the math. It's even cheaper to pay them what's right. But we have to lose interns in their numbers. We'll be talking about 7 of them if the other 5 were never rescued.
This ongoing standoff continues to cast a shadow over the healthcare sector, with medics demanding fair compensation and better working conditions. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has said the government online services through e-citizens had cut down on graft by some government employees and offered Kenyans an overhaul of the public service to make it more accessible, affordable and customer-centric for both local and international users of government services. Speaking when he joined President William Ruto during the first anniversary of e-citizen, Mudavadi said that the online government service had stemmed from the outcry of millions of Kenyans who for far too long endured painful, expensive and often corrupt experiences in government offices. Mudavadi said President Ruto was also deeply concerned about the loss of government revenue through weak manual systems that were vulnerable to exploitation and manipulation by rogue officers. Mudavadi said that the data indicated that from a paltry of 394 government services, the government had onboarded the e-citizen platform with 22,000 services of identified services, making Kenya a global leader in having such members of services online. On the same note, Mudavadi explained that doing away with the 1130 pay bills accounts for e-citizen and collapsing all of them into triple two pay bill had also seen the government.
Vows and the powers given to me under the Marriage Act, I now pronounce you Nicholas and Judy as husband.
Your Excellency, you remember these events?
Congratulations. Something I never imagined I would be able to get that opportunity.
Tulinibamba hiyo siku ni kukutana na president na kukutana na hao prominent leaders.
Is the handing over of the new look birth certificate that features a unique person identifier, UPI, also known as Maisha number, which will be lifetime identity number for Nicole is the young one, and all other newborns who will receive their own UPI. Their marriage symbolizes the reality of e-citizens, its convenience, and that it truly works. Why don't we put another good clap for Nicholas Gojiri Mwangi and Judith Chelagat Kemboi. Thank you, Your Excellency.
All I can say is that we really appreciate the very aggressive role that the President has taken in driving this program, the industrialization, and also building up the agenda around trade, not just within the regional economic communities, but also in Africa, bearing in mind that our biggest challenge is the demographic, which places 70 young people out of the 1.4 billion Africans at the center of this agenda.
Its convenience and that it truly works. Why don't we put another good clap for...
The government has released 2 billion for fertilizer subsidy program The development follows complaints by farmers over high cost of fertilizer after the Kenya Tea Development Agency announced that 3,400 per kilogram bag will be delayed by government subsidy. This according to the KTDA National Chair Enos Njeru, who was speaking at the annual general meeting of Rukiriri Tea Factory in Embu, means that farmers can continue buying the commodity at the government recommended price of 2,500 per bag. Here are the details.
It is good news for tea farmers in the country. Following the release of 2 billion Kenyan shillings for fertilizer subsidy program by the government, the development comes as a relief to farmers who have been complaining over the high cost of fertilizer. After Kenya Tea Development Agency announced 3,400 Kenyan shillings per 50 kilogram bag due to delayed government subsidy, this, according to the KTDA National Chair Enos Njeru, means that farmers can continue buying the commodity at the government recommended price of 2,500 Kenyan shillings per bag.
Kama wakulima wa majani chai wamefurahia sana kwa sababu ya pesa ambayo walipata mwezi huu wa 11, the 2 billion ya kusubsidize fertilizer ambayo wakulima wanaendelea kupata hadi saa hii. Na ile fertilizer wanapata ni ile ambayo tuliprocure at the beginning of this year, ambayo sasa wakulima wanapata, na tunatarajia wamaliziwe kupatiwa by end of this week, either by Saturday or by Monday.
In other business news, Family Bank Group's profit before tax for the 9 months of 2024 grew by 8% to 3.26 billion Kenyan shillings, up from 3.02 billion Kenyan shillings in the same period last year. This growth was driven by a significant increase in income across various revenue streams. Total interest income surged by 29% to 14.6 billion Kenyan shillings, buoyed by a 20% increase in income from loans and advances, which reached 10.6 billion Kenyan shillings. The loan book was expanded by 11.3% to 94.2 billion Kenyan shillings. Non-funded income rose by 13.2% to 3.3 billion Kenyan shillings, with the income from other fees and commissions increasing by 14.5%. This contributed to an 11% increase in total operating income, supporting the bottom line growth. Hilary Kabila, GBS News, Nairobi.
2 suspected goons were severely beaten by Irate villagers at Muhanda Primary School in Gem, Yala Sub-County on Thursday morning for allegedly trying to disrupt ODM grassroots elections. They were left for dead before being rescued by Good Samaritans and taken to Yala Sub-County Hospital. They are now fighting for their lives. Meanwhile, Narok County stakeholders led by Commissioner Kipkech Lotiatia have urged residents to end discrimination against persons with disabilities and promote their inclusion in public and private sectors to support national development. In other news, Kithure Kindiki praised devolution as key achievement, highlighting its impact on service delivery and citizen empowerment during the signing of an agreement to host the Africa's Eastern Africa office in Nairobi. Paris Kego with more from the counties.
2 suspected goons are in critical condition at Yala Sub-County Hospital after being attacked by villagers for allegedly disrupting ODM grassroots election at Muhanda Primary School in Gem. According to the witness who sought concealment, the exchange attracted a crowd which descended on the goons, prompting their driver to take off, leaving behind 3 members who had gone for breakfast in a local hotel. The trio, said the witness, were cornered by the mob that descended on them with crude weapons, but one managed to shake the mob and ran for his life.
Walikuwa na panga na walikuwa na kisu. Tear gas ilikuwa kwa ile gari. Ile gari ilikuwa imesimama, hao vijana wakaenda kuangalia wakapata tear gas iko huko na mapanga.
The remaining 2 received cuts in several parts of the body and were left for dead. Addressing the media, Gem constituency ODM chairman Nick Ochola condemned the incidents and blamed on local politicians of being behind the incidents. Parents of one of the victims of mob justice, Kennedy Oduo, who spoke to the media outside Yala Sub-County Hospital, condemned the incident and demanded the politician foots the treatment bill.
Jameni,
usaidizi inatakikana jameni. Sababu gani? Mtoto wangu ameumizwa vibaya. Tena ameumizwa vibaya. Ukiona mtoto wangu huwezi kujua ni Ken. Mbunge huyo mimi nataka nimuone, mtoto wangu asikufe. Atoe pesa, mimi sina pesa. Atoe pesa aende amtoe huyo, atoe hiyo bili ya Ken.
Gbs Sub-County Police Commander Charles Wafula confirmed the incident, saying that the two were rescued by the police.
I've intercepted over 12 people with pangas, with rungus, with machetes, with tear gas, and some of them have been arrested, have been taken to Yala police station.
Meanwhile, stakeholders drawn from several sectors in Narok County have warned residents against discriminating persons with disabilities. Led by Narok County Commissioner Kipkech Lotetia, the stakeholders called for inclusion of the physically challenged persons in both private and public sectors, as they too have a role to play to contribute to the development of the country.
Madhumuni ni kuweza kusherekea siku tangu haki ya wale wanaishi vingine itambulike na serikali na iweke kwa sheria kwamba itakuwa ni kama ni hatia kama kubagua watu ambao wanaishi vingine na wapate haki kama Wakenya wengine.
The stakeholders spoke during the celebrations to mark 20 years since the formation of National Council for Persons with Disabilities was formed, with the theme celebrating 20 years of diversity and inclusion in Kenya, stories of triumphs and overcoming barriers. Commissioner Lotetia warned that discriminating against persons living with disabilities is a crime and could attract a jail sentence. Hence, called on the society to embrace, respect, and support this special group of people. Masai Council of Elders Coordinator Maraga Utoni asked the society not to hide children with disability, but challenge them to enroll them in school and take them to worship centers so that they can interact with other members of the society.
Asua wala watu ambayo najua walemavu wana aina mingi. Wale kifofu ambayo hawezi ongea, wale saa nyingine haoni, ijengiwe nyumba shule yao Narok, ikipatikana watoto kama hiyo ipate pahali ya kusoma.
Narok County NCPWD Coordinator Julius Ntaya underscored the importance of promoting and protecting the rights of people with disabilities. In other news, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki hailed devolution as the crown jewel of Kenya transformative 2010 constitution, noting its critical role in transferring public power to subnational level for improved and more efficient service delivery. He stated that the successful implementation of devolved governance and well-planned urban settlements would drive Kenya and Africa agenda of empowering citizens. Speaking at the official residence in Karen, Nairobi, Kindiki witnessed the signing of the headquarters agreement to establish the Eastern Africa Regional Office of the United Cities and Local Government of Africa in Nairobi. The event was attended by Jill Pili Along Basi, Secretary General of UCLG Africa, Terry Baika, Principal Secretary of the State Department for Devolution, and other officials. Paris Kigo, Gbs News.
Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and Gbs TV Africa on all our social media handles. That report brings us to our international news, but first let us take a quick commercial break.
So through the four gospel books, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, we can know the heart of Jesus in depth. And the Jesus that we can feel him through the scriptures, and I'm very thankful about that. Jesus Christ came to this earth for our sins. He carried our sins. And he was crucified, and he received the punishment for sins. And he was put into the tomb and resurrected in 3 days. This is the gospel that we speak.
예수님께 우리 죄를 위해 죽으신 이야기.
About how Jesus died for our sins. The purpose of Jesus being
우리
crucified.
죄를 담당하기 위하여 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으셨습니다.
He was crucified to pay for our sins.
예수 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으심으로 우리 죄가 분명히 씻어졌는데
And through Jesus being crucified, clearly our sins have been washed clean.
참 안타깝게도 많은 사람은 여전히 죄인이라고 말합니다.
However, unfortunately, many people still say that they are sinners.
Hello friends, welcome to Kids Mind. This is the Coding Zone segment. My name is Andrew and in this segment I will be teaching you how to code. What comes into your mind when you hear the word coding? Coding is giving simple steps to a device so that it can follow these steps and give you an output. Coding is used to make apps, websites, animations, and even the games that you play on your phone or tablet.
Everywhere, Gbs.
Welcome back to the broadcast and now to matters international news. Violence continues to escalate in Sudan's Al Jazeera state, displacing tens of thousands and plunging the region into deeper chaos. Civilians recount harrowing stories of survival as the conflict between the Sudanese army and the rapid support forces intensifies, leaving villages devastated and families torn apart. Here are the details.
The conflict in Sudan is entering a devastating new chapter as civilians face unrelenting violence and displacement. Narish Mawi, speaking from Geneva, painted a grim picture of escalating criminality and lawlessness, which have been made it nearly impossible for humanitarian aid to reach those in need.
Talk to women myself, women and girls myself, who were subjected to sexual violence. And as I say, this is a shameful story, to be honest. You know, when the war is being fought on the bodies of women, that's really shameful.
The violence has also brought harrowing consequences for women and girls, with widespread use of sexual violence as a weapon of war. Survivors have recounted horrifying experiences, with thousands of cases reported by health providers. Fear of rape and violence has driven families to abandon their home and flee in search of safety, underscoring the displacement crisis that now extends beyond Sudan's border. Access to humanitarian aid remains critically restricted, exacerbated by government-imposed barriers such as temporary closure for the Adre closing on Chad-Sudan border.
Another problem is really the criminality that is now rampant in Sudan as well. So when the humanitarians move from one area of control to another area of control, what happened, and in the ICRC is a good example of that, people have been killed. We're just driving through some of these roads.
Rishmawi urged authorities to reopen these vital corridors to provide life-saving assistance to displaced populations. As Sudan descends deeper to this crisis, the international community is being urged to act swiftly to prevent further loss of life and ensure humanitarian assistance reaches those who need it most. Joy Korea, Gbs News.
Tensions between Somalia's federal government and Jubaland have intensified as both sides issued arrest warrants for each other's leaders. The standoff follows the re-election of Jubaland's regional president Ahmed Mohamed Islam Madobe, who Mogadishu claims was conducted without federal oversight. The reciprocal warrants accused President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud and Madobe of treason and other charges, deepening a long-standing rift between the national and regional administration. Here is more on the same.
Somali's federal government and the country's Jubaland region have issued reciprocal arrest warrants for their respective leaders in an escalating dispute over the conduct of elections in Jubaland. Jubaland, which borders Kenya and Ethiopia and is one of Somalia's 5 semi-autonomous states, re-elected regional president Ahmed Mohamed Islam Madobe for a third term in elections on Monday. However, the national government based in Mogadishu, led by President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, opposed the election, saying it was held without federal involvement. Jubaland's Attorney General issued an arrest warrant for Mohamud late on Wednesday via the first instance court in Kismayo, accusing him of treason, inciting a civil war, and organizing an armed uprising to disturb the constitutional order in the country. It did not provide evidence supporting the accusations. This warrant was in response to a similar one issued by regional court in Mogadishu for Madobe's arrest, which accused him of treason and revealing classified information to foreign entities. The execution of this warrant remains uncertain as both Madobe and Mohamud commands troops. Earlier this week, the national government dispatched additional troops to Jubaland in response to the election. The escalating dispute between Somali's federal government and Jubaland has significant implications for Kenya, given the region's strategic border with Kenya. Jubaland serves as a negotiator zone against extremist groups like Al-Shabaab, and instability could compromise Kenya's border security. Perez Kigo, Gbs News.
The sound of celebration echoed through Beirut's neighborhood as a ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel came into effect on Wednesday. The agreement, brokered with international support, aims to halt hostilities after months of devastating conflict. Here is the full report.
In Dahir, one of the hardest hit areas in Beirut, residents returned amid scene of destruction but with hope. Many proudly waved Hezbollah and Amal flags, hailing the ceasefire as a symbolic victory. The 2-month truce required Hezbollah to withdraw from southern Lebanon and for Israeli troops to return to their sides of the border. While the deal does not address ongoing violence in Gaza, it offers reprieve to the 1.2 million displaced Lebanese and thousands of Israelis who fled rocket fire. World leaders have voiced cautious optimism. Iran called the ceasefire a step toward regional stability, while Turkey urged Israel to compensate Lebanon for damages. Meanwhile, Hamas signals its willingness for negotiation regarding hostages in Gaza. Yet, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, under pressure from hardline allies, appeals focused on extending military operation in Gaza. As celebration continues in Lebanon, attention shifts to Gaza, where hope for a similar agreement remains uncertain. The world watches closely as Lebanon takes its first step toward calm, but the shadow of conflict in Gaza underscores the region's continued volatility. Joy Korea, Gbs News.
Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye PASTEF party has won 130 out of the 165 seats in legislative elections, securing a clear majority in parliament and a mandate to pursue promised reforms. Provisional results showed on Thursday Faye, who came in power in April after a landslide election victory, dissolved the House 2 years into his 5-year term on the 12th of September. He accused the opposition of refusing to pass bills from the executive. Here is more on the same.
Senegal has witnessed one of the most decisive electoral outcomes in its recent history. The November 17 legislative elections have reshaped the country's political landscape, with Osame Sonko's PASTEF party securing an unprecedented landslide victory. PASTEF claimed a staggering 130 out of 165 parliamentary seats, amounting to a 78% majority, the largest margin since 1988. The party dominated across 40 of Senegal's 46 departments and 7 of 8 overseas constituencies. Voter turnout, nearly 50%, highlight the strong engagement of Senegalese citizens in this pivotal election.
I hope they tackle the issues, and I want PASTEF to get down to work. We have confidence in their program.
This victory grants PASTEF immense power to push forward structural reforms that resonate with their promise of change and progress. Party representatives have described the results as evidence of massive support from the people. Meanwhile, opposition parties have conceded defeat. Former President Macky Sall's coalition suffered a significant decline, dropping from 83 seats to just 16. No legal challenges have been filed against the results, and official confirmations is expected within the next 5 days. Analysts are closely watching how PASTEF will leverage this newfound power to implement the ambitious reform agenda. Paris Kigo, GBS News.
Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. And now for sports lovers, it is time for your most anticipated part of the news, the sports news. Let's get sporty. Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi, participated in the diplomatic golf tournament at the Nairobi Royal Club to celebrate 60 years of Kenya's diplomatic journey. The tournament was a powerful reminder of how sports transcend boundaries, fostering partnerships and friendships that fuel our diplomatic achievements. On behalf of the government, the Prime Cabinet Secretary extended his gratitude to everyone who made the event memorable. As they honor the 6 decades of Kenya's diplomatic journey, they continue to champion for collaboration, peace, and impactful global engagement.
I was pondering about the subject of golf and diplomacy as I came. Your Excellency, golf has saved the relationship of countries. Your Excellency, there is so much that golf can do for our country. And through you, because you're an avid golfer, I'm sure that this sport can be promoted and become another source for pulling into the country quite some critical investments.
Your Excellency, we know that Kenya is ranked in the top 5 in the number of golf courses in Africa, coupled with very good weather of all year round, breathtaking sceneries, and diverse wildlife. It is an ideal golfing destination. As a matter of fact, Vipingo Ridge is the first and so far the only PGA accredited golf course in Africa. The annual Magical Kenya Open, which I really look forward to us hosting next year, is the only DP World Tour event in East and Central Africa and dates back to 1967. Golf receives very good sponsorship by the private sector in Kenya. And I must start by thanking KCB because KCB is sponsoring nearly all the sports in the country. I think golf is leading in showing how accountability and proper organized sport and federation can help us achieve more support and sponsorship from the private sector other than depending on the government resources. And therefore, we want to thank the private sector, starting with KCB, for being in the forefront in terms of supporting sports in the country.
I am delighted to see you all this evening as we celebrate the climax of the Diplomatic Golf Challenge and enjoy a social evening together. Let me, on behalf of the government and my colleagues, express our greatest appreciation to you for joining us to celebrate 60 years of Kenya's diplomatic journey, which started after our independence in 1963. Kenya has contributed immensely to friendly relations, international peace, and harmony during the past 6 decades. We have extended a warm hand of friendship to the global family of nations, as witnessed by the expansion of our diplomatic footprint from 12 missions at independence to 71 missions around the world today. We are proud to have opened 32 missions in Africa, 17 in Asia, 15 in Europe, 6 in the Americas, and 1 in Oceania. This underlines our commitment to build mutual relationships with all the people of this world.
Kenya's basketball powerhouse, Nairobi City Thunder, got a boost ahead of Basketball Africa League Elite 16 qualifiers that starts today in Nairobi after M-Kopa partners with the team. The partnership between M-Kopa and Nairobi City Thunder will run to the end of the Ball Elite 16 tournament and will hopefully power Nairobi City Thunder to become the first Kenyan team to qualify for the Basketball African League. The leading African fintech company that offers innovative financial and digital products has come with sponsorship to bolster Thunder's bid to become a ball team with the financial support during the Elite 16 tournament, as well as their M-Kopa X20 smartphones that will support the team in documenting their journey to the Basketball Africa League. On their part, M-Kopa noted that sports is a powerful platform that empowers people, and Nairobi City Thunder is creating jobs and supporting aspiring players. While praising the partnership, Nairobi City Thunder Chief Executive Officer Colin said that the right partner, they will be able to achieve their goal. Commenting on the partnership, Nairobi City Thunder Chief Business Officer Sandra Kimokoti said it is between the organization that believes in the same thing, empowering individuals and communities. Over 500 participants from 35 countries are set to converge in Mombasa, Kenya for the 12th edition of the Mombasa Open Tongil Mundo International Martial Arts Championship, scheduled to take place at the Aga Khan Academy from the December 11th, 2024. This year's event marks a significant milestone at the largest in the tournament history. The competition will feature a total of 578 players with 324 international participants and 250 Kenyan athletes, including 120 members from Team Jasri Kenya National Champions. And that sports news brings us to the end of our news segment tonight here at GBS News and 9. We make your news our business. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Adams Minor. Good night.